out the unit rate. Okay. And remember, when we do unit rate, we are always trying to figure out per one. Okay. We're trying to figure out what that 1 unit equals. So in this one, we are working in, let's go back to our hamster table. We are working in seconds and centimeters, time and distance. Okay. So what we actually want to figure out is we want to figure out how far can the hamster go in 1 second. We want to know what this 1 second is. This is going to be our unit rate, where our x is 1, because this is x, this is y. Okay. So where our x is 1, what is our y value? So what is our distance per second? And I'm going to write that on here. Distance per second. And that's 1 second. Okay. Now, hopefully you remember from class, you haven't had too long of a vacation, per, anytime you see that in math, that means division. Okay. So now we can take any of our distances from our data, divide it by however many seconds it took to get that distance, and we're going to find our unit rate. So I'm going to pick an easy one. Let's go with 10 and 5. Okay. That's going to be pretty easy. Okay. So I have my distance is 5. My time, my seconds is 10. So the distance is 5. I put that first because distance is first, divided by 10 seconds equals, and that's 5 over 10, 5 divided by 10, which we know equals 1/2, which equals 0.5. Okay, so my unit rate for the hamster is 0.5 centimeters per second. And you have to include those units. Otherwise, it's 0.5 what? And I know Miss Hoyser always comes in there and says, what, 0.5 chickens? Whatever, okay? If you don't put the units in with it, it doesn't mean anything. So it's 0.5 centimeters, half a centimeter per second. That's how fast this hamster is traveling. Pretty slow hamster, but that's okay. It's just for the data. Right? Now, why is the unit rate so important? Why do we want to figure out this amount? Okay, well, I'm going to tell you. When we go back to our table and we have 0.5 in there for that, what we notice is that now we can take our unit rate and use multiplication to fill in all of our other values. Okay, so if I was going to go here and I said I want to go to 5, 1 times 5 is 5, which means 0.5 times 5 is 2.5. Okay, and then I can do the same thing here. 1 times 10 is 10, so I'm going to do this one times 10 as well, and I get 5. Okay, at this point, I now can figure out the distance for any amount of seconds that I want. Okay, maybe I want to know how far we go in 7 seconds. So I need to go from my unit rate. How do I get from 1 to 7? Well, I'm going to multiply times 7. Down here, I'm going to do the same thing. 7 times 0.5 is going to give me 35. Carry my decimal over once, is 3.5 centimeters. Okay, so when you get that question, why is unit rate so important? Unit rate helps us to find any other value by using multiplication. Multiplication. Okay. Very important. Okay. Very, 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 very important. unit rate. That's why we take the time to do that division to find our unit rate, because once we have our unit rate, we can figure any amount out. Okay, now these are all fairly low numbers in this table, and yes, we can take the 5 and double that to the 10, do the 2.5 and double that as well. We can take the 10 and double that to the 20 and take the 5 and double that to the 10. But when we get to higher numbers, let's say I'm going to make this hamster run, okay? And I want to make it run for 123 seconds, okay? None of these numbers are going to help me get to that really easily, except for this one. That's the only one on this table that's going to help me figure that out really quickly, because I can take this and I multiply by what it is, by 123. 1 times 123 is 123. 0.5 times 123 is going to get me my answer. And I can do that for any value as long as I know that unit rate. Okay. All right. Now comes into where we tie in our information we did in chapter 6, writing equations. Everyone loves equations, right? All right. So when we are doing equations for distance and time, what we are trying to figure out is our speed. Okay. So what we look at in our actual table is our distance, excuse me, is our amount of time times, our distance is our time times our unit rate, our rate, okay? And our rate is our speed, pretty much, okay? So I'm going to write this down for you. It is D equals R times T, okay? This is going to be your equation as we continue with the distance and time relationship, okay? And that R is our rate. And let's just go ahead and add that on there, unit rate, okay? So our distance equals our unit rate. For in this one, it's 0.5 because we figured out our unit rate was 0.5 centimeters times however many seconds. So if I know that I've gone 3 seconds, I can just take this and put my 3 seconds in there for the time and figure it out that way. That would be 1.5 centimeters for my distance, okay? If I knew that my distance was 10 and I wanted to figure out how many seconds that took, now I have that solving equation fun where I have a number times a variable, so I have to do the opposite, divide by 0.5, divide by 0.5, okay? And then I would figure out my time, okay? This would be 1t, this would be 20 seconds, okay? So when we're writing an equation, this is your general equation for our distance and time relationship, our proportional relationship for our finding our speed, okay? This unit rate, you need to have it to be able to write the equation. That's the thing that's going to stay the same. Every single time we're going to have that 0.5 in there. Okay? That's never going to change. The hamster is going 0.5 centimeters per second. Every single second, it's going 0.5 centimeters. It does not change. The things that do change are my distance and my time, because the two of them are our relationship. Those are the two things that are related to each other. All right. Now you're also going to be asked what happens if our hamster travels twice as fast, okay? So right now, our hamster is traveling 0.5 centimeters per second. So if our hamster was traveling twice as fast for every second, it would be going 0.5 twice, which would be 1 centimeter. Okay, so now our equation would change because this is our new unit rate. This is our 2 times as fast. So we would have distance equals rate times time. My rate is now this. So I have distance equals 1 times t. Well, this is going to be really easy for this particular problem because no matter what my time is, my distance is going to be the same because time times 1 is going to be the same thing as my distance. Okay? But what would happen if I go back to my table? Okay, I have used lots of colors on here. So let me see if I can find something I haven't used. All right. So if I had 1 and 1, now this 5 up here, if I go times 5, this is also going to be times 5. It's going to be 5. So what would happen for this particular data set, I would have the same thing on both sides because I have times 1. But what I'm noticing is that my distance traveled is doubled because we're going twice as fast. That's the main thing. Our distance traveled is what is changing. The time in seconds is not changing because we're still measuring, okay, it's been 5 seconds. It's been 10 seconds. It's been 15 seconds. But now the hamster's going twice as fast. It's hustling a little more this time. Now my distance has doubled. Okay, it's going twice as fast. It's doubling. Okay. All right, so there is not a lot of questions going on with this particular first section of chapter 7. We are only working through 7.1.1 for this first week. And in that, I want to say there's only like 5 questions. It's not a lot, but you're going to have to be able to find your unit rate. So remember, we have finding unit rate, using our division, figuring out what our unit rate is. It's probably for you also going to be distance per second since that's the relationship we're working with. Make sure your distance number comes first. Your amount of seconds comes second. I chose 5 and 10, but you can really use any set from your data table. When you set up your equation, this is it right here. That R is your unit rate. That is whatever you come up with back here. Okay. All right. So do your best working through the problems this week. Like I said, if you get stuck, you have questions, either message Mrs. Hoyser or myself on Schoology or send us an email. We'll get back to you as quickly as we can. My office hours are every day between 1 and 2, and Mrs. Hoyser's are every day between 2 and 3. So those are the times that we're mostly going to be sitting at our computer. But if you need extra assistance and you want to set up a Zoom chat, we are more than happy to do that as well. And we will work on scheduling those as needed. Okay. Hope you guys do all right with this first lesson. If you're struggling, let us know. But otherwise, good luck. Make sure everything is submitted by Friday at 4 p.m. It will cut off on Schoology at that time. So don't start it on Friday at 3:30. Expect to get the entire thing done and submitted by 4 o'clock. Okay, we are grading you on getting this completed. So make sure you're actually doing it. And also make sure you log on to iReady and do 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes is all I'm looking for. You can look at your progress. You can see how much time you put in for the week. I'm going to be looking at that as well. So definitely make sure you take advantage of this time off from school. Really try to learn these concepts. They are very important as you're going to be moving up to 8th grade next year. And let me know if you need anything.